welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 307, and today's date is March 6, 2014, and the title of this episode is Fed Repeats It Would Take a Major Economic Disruption to Curb the Taper. Now, this is the second time the Fed has come out and said this. They are saying that something substantial would have to happen for them to stop the taper. Now, what are they talking about? Because we need to understand that the Fed, the U.S. government, they pretty much control the entire market. They control the stock market, which we understand. They control gold, precious metals, and this has been out in Bloomberg. They're showing that, yes, precious metals have been manipulated. They've been pushed down, so they pretty much control that. They've changed the calculations for GDP. They've gone all the way back to 1929 and include research and development, recalculated all the way up to present day. So that's pretty much manipulated. They manipulated the unemployment numbers. They changed the calculation back in 1994, and they're continually manipulating the numbers, not counting those people who dropped off or are no longer looking for work. They don't count, so they're not counted in the unemployment numbers. And again, those are manipulated. They just recently recalculated and manipulated the inflation deflation calculation, and they are in control of the entire market. So what possibly would be so bad that would change what they are doing? We need to talk about this, and we will a little bit later in this report, but let's get started with the economic collapse news. And we understand that the economy is a complete illusion. We understand this, we get it, and everything that they're telling us is completely false, fake, and a lie. Just like they told us back in 2008 that, again, they had everything contained. Again, they're not projecting a recession in 2008 as they were telling us in 2008. So we understand that they really don't tell us what's really going on. They just make everyone believe that everything is okay until that point when everything falls apart. Just like in October of 2008, people woke up and went, "Whoa, what just happened here?" And the market started coming down. People started walking out of their jobs with boxes. Mass layoffs started to happen. So we get it. We understand what is happening right now. Now, what we're seeing right now is U.S. productivity has slowed in the fourth quarter. The U.S. productivity grew at an even slower annual rate than previously thought in the final 3 months of last year. Productivity grew at an annual rate of 1.8% in October to December, and a slowdown from 3.5% productivity growth in the third quarter. And again, U.S. factory orders dropped by 0.7% in January. And again, this is the third month in a row that they completely missed. And inventories right now are at their highest point. So what's going on here? Well, basically what's happening is that the economy is not doing well. And there's a lot of evidence to show that the economy is completely separate and apart from the stock market. And this is what happened back in 1929. The economy was doing terrible. There were breadlines. People were losing work, but the stock market was rising to new heights, and back then, of course, it was like 400 points or so. But today we see the stock market reaching new heights. Everything's moving up. All eyes on the stock market. Don't look at the economy. Don't look at the people losing work. Don't look at the layoffs. Don't look at retail stores closing. Don't look at any of this, because this is none of your concern. Everyone, please look at the stock market, because that is the indicator of the entire economy. But it really isn't. It is the last signal that the economy just died. The economy fails first, and then finally the market reflects what has been happening, and the market falls and crashes, and everyone's confirmed and that the economy completely is in a decline, and everyone wakes up and says, "Oh yeah, look at this. How did this happen?" And it's been happening all along. Now, what we're seeing right now is the Fed is out there, and they're trying to convince everyone that the economy is improving. We're in a recovery. Don't you feel it? I feel it. And the Fed was out there, and they're saying that the rebounding auto sales, the improving home sales and construction are good evidence that the Federal Reserve's super easy monetary policy is boosting the U.S. economy. And this is coming from a top Fed official. And he was talking to a group of students on Wednesday. And of course, they're just out there saying that, everything looks great. We pumped everything up. We're creating these massive bubbles. But look, we're in a recovery. Everything looks great. And of course, the students have no clue what they're actually really saying. They don't understand that this is a bubble. All they see and all they hear is that we are in a recovery. But when we look around and we take a look at everything, what are we seeing? Well, Disney just announced in their Disney video game internet division, they're laying off about 700 people. Okay, not so bad. But again, starting this year, think about the number of corporations that have laid off people. Now, in New York right now, they are going through major layoffs in many different sectors within New York. An analysis of records filed with the New York State Department of Labor shows thousands of jobs are being cut from the start of the year through March 5th. A total of 53 companies have filed notices. Now again, this is not good. And again, if we think back to 2013 in the fall, Meredith Whitney was out there saying a lot of these financial institutions are going to start laying off massive amounts of people. And I think the number was about 100,000 at that time. And what we are seeing is some financial institutions have come out and they've said they've been they're going to be laying off, 5,000, 30,000. We saw Dell come out and say they were laying off people. Sony came out and said they were laying off people. So we can see this is spreading. But right now in New York, they are having major layoffs. And some companies are closing altogether while others are downsizing. The job losses span across all industries, including pharmaceutical, lumber, healthcare, financial, and transportation. Manufacturing and union jobs are also among the losses. Pfizer, Alcoa have announced mass layoffs. Pfizer, which is restructuring its operations, is laying off a total of 44 workers. Its layoffs will be complete by June 17th. Alcoa will be closing its remaining 2 pot lines. Alcoa will lay off approximately about 332 workers on April 17th. Interfaith Medical Center in Brooklyn announced will be closing and it will be laying off about 1,400 people. SUNY Downstate Medical Center, Long Island College, laying off 1,442 workers. Again, they're going to start in February. It's going to end in March 10th. And of course, we know J.P. Morgan Chase is going to lay off about 8,000 people in New York. Now, as I've been saying all along, and we have proof of this, the housing market is not really rebounding. It's actually declining. Mortgage applications, as we know, are down between 60 and 66%. People are not taking out mortgages. And we have evidence that they are not, because we can see that these companies like Wells Fargo, Citibank, J.P. Morgan had been laying off thousands upon thousands of people in 2013. And yesterday I reported another mortgage company laying off people. And again, if the housing market is recovering, what happens? The mortgage companies expand because there are more people taking out mortgages. And again, we do not see this. 3 other financial companies have also announced cuts in their workforce in the mortgage servicing division. Wells Fargo, DE Capital Mortgage, PHH Mortgage are either closing or scaling back and are all cutting workers. We can see what is happening. People are being laid off, and this is not going to stop. We are going to see a lot more layoffs. We're going to see a lot more retail stores closing, and this is just going to escalate as the year goes on. And the government and the Fed, they realize this. They realize that the entire economy is imploding on itself, and they can't do anything to stop it. QE has ran its course. There's nothing else they possibly can do. They knew that QE, that when they were running it, it had a shelf life. It could only do so much, and before anything could happen, they decided to taper because they understood they would have to do something else to blame this collapse on someone else. So it looks really good that they've pumped all these markets up. It looks like we're in a recovery. There are layoffs happening all around us. The housing market is imploding. The retail market is imploding, but they're out there pushing their propaganda that everything is recovering at this point. And of course, they've came out, today saying that Americans added to their net worth of about $3 trillion, but these are all paper assets. It's mostly in the stock market and in the housing market because these are the bubbles that were created. And again, the everyday person is not seeing this. And again, when this market comes down, as fast as the net worth went up, it's going to come down just as fast, because remember in 2008, when that market came down, 38% of the American people lost their wealth, their savings, their retirement. And this is the same thing that's going to happen, but this time it's going to be a lot worse. Now, like I said, going back to the fall of 2013, and we all understand this, we get it. But now we're seeing it happen. More and more reports are coming in of store closings. Staples just reported that 225 stores will be closing. They're getting rid of them. That's it. And we're going to see Office Depot. We're going to see other major retailers. Actually, some retailers won't even exist anymore. They will completely disappear because, again, we have to look at this. With all of these layoffs, with all of these companies cutting back, laying off, and closing, where are you finding work? If you do find work, it is not at the same level. You are getting a part-time job, sometimes 2 part-time jobs, just to make ends meet. Now, if people are getting laid off and they can't find work, guess what's going to happen to the housing market? This is a house of cards. As soon as one card is pulled out of the bottom, the entire thing is going to come crumbling down, and there'll be nothing to stop it. That is it. And again, this goes on to say, the report about Staples says the sales declined 4%. Same-store sales in North America, excluding sales through Staples.com, fell 7%. Revenue at the company's international division fell 13%, and they're saying it's the reason for this was because of weakness in Europe and Australia. And in Europe, we get it. They are in a recession/depression, and guess what? They're not running out there to buy office supplies. Same thing here in the United States. Offices are closing. Businesses are cutting back. The amount of lease space that is open right now is amazing. This is not getting better, and this is just the start. Now, Dudley from the Federal Reserve, he is out there and he says the U.S. economic outlook would have to change substantially for the Federal Reserve to alter the pace of which it is unwinding down asset purchases. Again, something substantial would have to happen. Now, if they're in control of everything, what possibly could it be? And I'm telling you right now, they are going to stage a false flag event here in the United States to show that another country completely destroyed our economic recovery. They are going to prove, they're going to show, and they're going to make everyone realize that the economy was taken down by either Russia, North Korea, Iran, Syria, China, whatever country they're going to use for this, they are going to hit hard and make sure everyone realizes it was not the United States government, it was not the Federal Reserve, but it was another country. And this is why the propaganda has been building, and building, because they want people to realize what is actually going to happen. And they understand. And the bankers understand, the Federal Reserve understands, the people in the European governments understand that they can no longer bail out these banks, and the central bankers get it. This is why they have prepared. They are ready for this system to come down and blame it on another country. And this is why they created the bail-in documents. It's all throughout Europe. It's in Canada. It's in Switzerland, Australia, in England, and in the United States. Cyprus, again, was the test case. So we can see how they are completely ready to do this. And this report from Dudley, who is Federal Reserve, went on to say the outlook would have to change in a material way. I mean, they keep saying this, and you have to wonder what possibly could change the recovery at this point. A war? Yeah, that would do it. A special event in the country? Yeah, that would do it. So, again, the way things are going right now, they're in control of the illusion. The only way the illusion can be broken is to have a special event occur, because they can't just change the numbers right now. They're down to 6.6%. What are they going to say? Oh my God, unemployment went up to 9%? It wouldn't even make sense, because they've been telling us we're in a recovery. What would they say? Housing all of a sudden imploded on itself because no one wants to buy anymore? Because no one's taking out mortgages? It wouldn't make sense. They need something in place to show that another entity, and I'll say it's a country, created this economic collapse, and this is what they are planning on. Now, we understand, and I talk about this a lot, about the gun grab and how they want to disarm the American people, and they just don't want to disarm the American people. They would like to declare martial law in the United States, because this would really help out the government. It would make it a lot easier to control all the sheep, the cattle of the country, and of course, when I say that, I mean us. And what's happening in Connecticut is worrisome, because what is happening there is they enacted gun control laws. The people are not complying with these laws, and they could send in agent provocateurs, and there could be something that could happen, because right now what's happening in Connecticut, the people from Connecticut and around the nation are tired of being threatened, are ready to make a stand, and the state of Connecticut does not have the stomach to enforce the laws with which they threaten gun owners. The people in Connecticut are saying either enforce these laws as they are written and let us fight it out in court, or else repeal the 2013 gun ban in its entirety. And they're saying, you know what? Bring it on. If you're going to enforce it, try to take the guns from me. And all we need to have is an incident to occur to say that the Second Amendment people shot a officer or something happen. And this could be a complete setup, which, if this does happen, and it is reported throughout the news, could stir riots and other things happening throughout the country in regards to gun owners. And again, this is something that they would try to do. This is something that they would like to do, and they would like to have happen, because they would like to declare martial law. And when I say they, I'm talking about the U.S. government and the central bankers. And we can see, and we need to watch this. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard about Liz Wall, how she quit RT. And, of course, she announced her resignation on air on Wednesday. And if you don't know about this, she was an anchor on RT. And as she was doing her report, she said the following: "Personally, I cannot be part of a network funded by the Russian government that whitewashes the actions of Putin," she said. "I am proud to be an American and believe in disseminating the truth. That is why, after this newscast, I am resigning." And end quote. And what I see happening here, and this is my personal opinion, nobody quits their job without another job lined up. Very rare, especially in these people in these positions, do they do this. Now, what I'm going to say here is that she has something planned, already in the works, has already been paid to do this, and this is on, she will end up on a different U.S. networks, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, any one of these. And I believe that she was already had negotiations. She was paid a huge sum of money to go on air and say this and to increase the propaganda against Russia. And I would not be surprised within 2 to 3 weeks, as things just calm down, because it would look too obvious if she went over to CNN, even though she was on Anderson Cooper on CNN right after this happened. It would look too suspicious if all of a sudden she was the co-anchor of a segment in CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, and any one of these networks. So I would say about 2, 3, 4 weeks will go by, and then all of a sudden we will see Liz Wall on a U.S. network. She'll have this new job, getting paid lots of money, and all of this will start to fit together. The story will start to come out, and we will see all of this. But this won't happen right away, and I see this happening later on. Okay, moving on here. Now, the House just passed a $1 billion Ukraine loan guarantee. Ukraine $1 billion loan guarantee bill has been passed. The House votes 385 to 23 to pass this loan guarantee. And again, it is not aid, it is a loan which will have to be paid back with interest. Now again, it's amazing how quickly they can give money to the Ukraine. And inside their own people of the United States, they had no money to bail out Detroit. This kind of bothers me. We see the people in Detroit manufacturing, leaving Detroit, Detroit in economic turmoil, people losing their homes, they can't get by, and the government said there will be no bailout of Detroit. And this is the people of America, but they had no problem passing in the House a $1 billion loan guarantee to the Ukraine. Now, why is that? Why is America less important? Is anyone asking this question? Why aren't they concentrated here in America? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because, again, giving money inside the U.S. does not help the central bankers. Giving money outside of the U.S. to another country helps, because they have to pay back this money with interest, and they make out. And again, by doing this, they help the Ukraine by implementing a private Western central bank, putting natural resources on the EU or the U.S. dollar, and it allows them to spread the debt further. And this is why this is happening, and this is why you don't see the government of the U.S. helping the United States at all. This is why they always say there's no money. This is why they say it's not in the budget. This is why we always see aid going to Israel, aid going to Iraq, going to Yemen, going to South Africa. This is why we saw aid going to Thailand and Tunisia, because this is what they do. They push the debt out further and further to keep the system going. They don't care about the American people. They could care less about supporting what is going on here. And again, if more people lose their job and they're out of work and they have no place to live, so be it. They don't care. Now, Russia is reporting that more than 5,500 Ukrainians are applying for Russian citizenship. The overall number of applicants has been increasing by 20% daily that they're reporting because of the situation in the Ukraine. We also understand that the Crimean parliament votes to join Russia. They're holding a referendum in 10 days, and this is going to be held on March 16th. There'll be 2 questions on the ballots for the Crimean people. The first one, are you in favor of Crimea becoming a territory of the Russian Federation? The second one, are you in favor of restoring Crimea's 1992 constitution? And according to the 1992 constitution, the autonomous republic is part of Ukraine, but has relations with Kiev defined on the basis of mutual agreements. And that's what they're putting to vote right now. Now, of course, the U.S. has to come back and say, whoa, 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 this is not going to happen. So the U.S. right now is imposing visa restrictions on Russians, the people of Crimea, and they're saying that the Russians and the Crimea people who are doing this. It is threatening Ukraine security. They always go back to it's threatening the national security. It's always threatening the security. I guess that is a great term to use if you have nothing else to say. And President Obama has signed an executive order authorizing sanctions against individuals and entities responsible for activities undermining democratic process or institutions in Ukraine. The White House said in a statement that this order is a flexible tool that will allow it to sanction those who they consider most directly involved in destabilizing Ukraine, including the military intervention in Crimea. Well, I mean, again, this sounds fantastic, but we have to think back of actually how this all happened. The United States government and the EU, with the help of the central bankers, paid the opposition $5 billion. This was planned well before. They knew exactly who they were putting in as the prime minister. They knew exactly how this was going to work. They knew what they had to do to get the Ukraine on the EU system. And right now, Kiev is ready to sign EU association deal ASAP, as fast as they possibly can, because they need them on the EU system to prop up the debt. And again, they're pretty much disregarding everything at this point. They made an agreement. France, Germany, U.S. approved the agreement between the opposition and Ukrainian government. The opposition went back on it, raided the government buildings. They took over, and they didn't have elections throughout the country. They just appointed someone pretty much as president or the leader of the opposition to take control, and they are just moving this at a faster and faster pace to get the country on the EU system. And this is what they've been trying to do all along. And this was their whole agenda, just like it's the same agenda all throughout the world in all the other countries. Now, the U.S. military is sending fighter jets to assist NATO because of a Ukrainian crisis, and defense officials confirmed that the U.S. will send 6 F-15s and 1 KC-135 to augment the mission in Baltic countries. The move is an attempt to bolster American military presence in the region. The action comes as a request of Baltic allies and further demonstrates our commitment to NATO security, the official said. Now, at the same time, Russia is starting their massive air defense drills amid what is happening in Ukraine, and Russian Western Military District has begun large-scale air defense drills at its southern testing range on the backdrop of further escalation of tensions with the West over Ukraine. So we can see what is happening. Everyone's flexing their muscles, they're training, they're putting their military assets into position. And now what we see is the U.S. Navy has confirmed that a guided missile destroyer, the USS Truxtun, is headed to the Black Sea for what the U.S. military said is a routine deployment, decided long way before this ever occurred, because they already had plans of what was going to happen here, and they knew eventually they would probably have to send in some ships. Just like back in Syria, back in August of 2013, when they sent all the military assets and troops into Jordan for training, and they just left all of that there, and then all of a sudden next month we had that incident with the false flag, with the chemical weapons in Syria, and they had all the military assets and troops standing by. And we can see this seems like a repeat of Syria. Ships are coming in. They're in the Black Sea. We can see now that Russia is sending 2 Russian Navy ships also entered the Black Sea through the Bosphorus on Tuesday, and also a Ukrainian Navy vessel which was heading for Odessa, not Crimea. But we can see what is happening. All sides are building up their military assets because, again, what's going to happen is something will occur, which will be a false flag, to get this war started. There will be something that sparks this entire thing and makes it go hot. Right now what we're seeing is President Assad sent a letter to Putin saying that he has his full support, and of course the Syria and Russia. They are friendly. Putin backed Assad when the whole chemical weapon incident came about. He backed them up, and now Assad is just returning the favor and backing Putin up at this point. Now, in New York City, the Syrian ambassador has been told that he cannot travel without outside a 25-mile radius in New York City. He is confined to a certain area, and he cannot move outside this 25 miles. And the United States has not given any reason for the travel ban, but State Department spokesman Jen Psaki said that such travel limits were not unheard of. So I don't know why they're doing this at this point. But when I look at this and I see other countries like North Korea, Iran, they all have the same restrictions. So I guess certain countries that are not on the private Western central banking system, that the United States central bankers consider an enemy, they are restricted to a certain area. Now, again, I was saying that there will be something that will spark a false flag event where something will go forward and something will occur. And what we're seeing right now is the Ukraine Pravda reports that it is most probable that Russian troops will assault units in Ukrainian Crimea overnight, continuing to the weekend. Despite reports that Russian troops ended in learning active phase last, they did not return to the barracks. And again, this is all propaganda. They're building this up, and I really do believe that there will be a false flag to make this entire situation to go hot, and this is why military assets are being moved into place. And this goes on to say, despite reports, there are three scenarios. First, there'll be an airstrike, said the source, and of course the source is unnamed. They won't say who it is. Helicopters are already relocated, and it is possible that they will do exactly helicopters. The second option, a special operation force disarmament, and you have to remember back that they were out there. The U.S. government said they had special intel that they've seen commandos moving around, setting something up, and you can see they've been preparing all of this, all the propaganda, because, again, we have to remember what the central bankers want. Their end goal is always the same. Doesn't matter how they get there, it is always the same. They want to put all the nations on the U.S. dollar or on the EU to prop up the current system. They understand that they can only do this for a certain period of time before the entire system collapses, because we understand that companies are laying off, retail stores are closing, housing is imploding, and they see this. They understand that this is all a bubble. They get it. They understand. Even though they tell us there is no bubble, there always is a bubble, because it's always the opposite of what they say, and they see it coming. They understand what they did. And the only thing that they know how to do is to create events that will distract people and put it someplace else. And this is what they're trying to do in this instance, and their end goal is to start a war to cover up the entire collapse. Again, remember back to World War I. Remember back to World War II. It is the same thing. The systems were collapsing. After World War II, a new system was created called Bretton Woods. The system is collapsing again. They do believe that when the war is over, they will be victorious. They will restart the system, and this time in the United States, they will have no constitution, because they're going to do everything in their power to get rid of it, because they realize it hinders what they like to do. And this time, when the war ends, they will completely reset the system, and they will control every single person. And this is why they're putting all this in place. This is why you see Common Core. This is why you see DHS. This is why they're having tracking. This is why they have FEMA camps, because, again, those people who are a threat, they need to get rid of those people. And they'll keep the people who are obedient, who do what they say, who can be trained. And this is why we're seeing all of this at this point. And again, They understand the system is collapsing. They understand they need to take the attention off the Fed and the government, because if the people realize that they were behind all of this, everyone would go after them. But if they believe that another country was behind it, all eyes are off of them, and it puts all your eyes on the country that caused this major problem. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.